Hi there, this video is more like a just talking or rant video. Due to many factors, I have decided not to pull land, or rather I should say not invest into every single element like I used to do. And there are many reasons for that. As you might already know, TOFCN just had its first anniversary. Overall, I'm very happy about how the game has improved over the course of the year. You can clearly see it through the character design, the map, and just better gameplay experience in general. But before all these wonderful improvements, there is a very notorious and yet unavoidable issue.
让我想想，工作处理完
Oh,
了。
and by the way, they add the AFK voice line for your main character. But the thing is, the ceiling of farming and building your character keeps increasing, and this is actually quite common in MMO. But the problem with TOF is that it's also a gacha where whales can just spend money to drastically speed up the gearing process. It was already bad when they started to introduce newer pieces like the goggle or visor, battle engine, reactor, and the bone frame. Whales can usually just spend dark crystals in shops to quickly gear up, where for average players it will take, weeks to complete gearing. And the first anniversary introduces the so-called breakthrough system, which just makes it even worse. I will not spend too much time here talking about it because I myself am not even familiar with how exactly it works. But to put it simple, you can do breakthroughs for your gear, and I think you can do it for a total of 120 times, during which is also a chance to spawn a Titan version of the gear. And then the Titan version of the gear will give you very, very rare uh, suffix and you can see, like for example, it can increase either your normal attack level or your dodge attack level, your skill level, your discharge, and many different effects here. And like I said, you can do it 120 times, and it's gonna randomly upgrade one of these substats, right? And then it's also when you do the first time you do a breakthrough is also gonna give you additional two substats. And there is a very complicated rule here, which I don't think I'm able to cover this, but the idea here is just they're, you know, on purpose, increase the ceiling and the building process, right, for your gear, which, like I said, is very common, but I think I'm just getting old and not as energetic as I used to be. If I was still in college and had a lot of free time, I would probably be happy to grind these. But and the other thing is, if you are not a whale, then usually you can only choose this random upgrade. But then what whale can do is they will get these very rare items that let you pick, you know, which at least you can pick either one of the four substats or one of the newer breakthrough stats you get. So that's just the advantage that whales have over average players. And not only that, like as you can see, you will need these very rare items, which for free to play or average players, you can only get this through the crystal shop or the let me show you. It's this. So you can buy that thing using the gold orbs and purple, I think, yeah, and also purple orbs. But for whales, what they can do is, they will come to this shop here and just simply swipe out as many as they want. And let me see. Yeah, as you can see. So as long as you have money, you can pretty much complete the gearing, and for an average player, it will probably take them a few months to complete so, right? And that is the thing that I started to realize. I just simply cannot tolerate that anymore. Especially if I am to do it for every single element, right? It's just simply impossible. And other than the new gearing system, I also slowly come to realize that invest into four teams to a decent level at the same time, right? So what I mean is, if you go look at my inventory, I have all four elements built, and on average, you can say, 3 plus 0 is a standard setup that I do. What I mean is, I will get like 3-star weapon because usually 3-star gives you a decent boost and you unlock all the potential features at 3-star. Like the further upgrades are just for more raw damage. And some of them I have heavier investment like Lyra and Umi because I do like physical team more than the other, and you can also see I C6 or sorry A6 Fenrir, but rather I will have a 0-star Tin Lamp. But the key idea here is I invest into every element at a decent level. But then the thing is, I don't think it's optimal, and there are very few contents in the game where it actually needs you to invest into this many teams. I mean, I've already beaten the wormhole. The wormhole is probably the only um, content that actually needs you to have all four elements because like the last stage, it randomly bans an element, so you gotta have four elements, right? And even the sequential phantasm, you potentially, I mean, technically you only need three teams, right? You only need three elements built to, and then like to be honest, I'm not even that try hard on this. Like if I do the last stage, which at this point I'm not even, bother doing it. I usually stay around like top five, or sometimes when stuff get a little bit more competitive. But I'm still at the top, right? So like, what's the point of me kind of keep getting every single element, you know, super built, right? There's literally no point. And it's also an issue because unlike, you know, unlike game like Genshin where it's mostly single player content, then sure, I'm happy to build multiple teams because the game already doesn't have much to offer. So I'm happy to build multiple teams so that I can experience different playstyles. But in a game like MMO, you do have a lot more content and stuff to do, and you just simply cannot neglect the competition between players. Like especially these days, they're introducing new team-focused content, like the four-player Bygone and many more, right? And as I play with many of my crew members who are mostly slow spenders, but they strictly stick to invest heavily into one team, and I find myself not any better than them, like in terms of damage, if not worse actually. And then the investment I put in the game does not give me back nearly as much as like I don't think it's worth it. And I estimate that to spend about like 5 grand in this game, if not more. Um, and there are people who spend a similar amount of money like I do in my crew, right? And then with that much money spent, they can easily max out like one, if not two elements, and then they're gonna have a much better time just destroying and sweeping through the content. Like they will have a much better experience than I do. And then, also another thing is I'm also very tight on resource, right? And so this competition thing is just one point. Now the other one is it's been a year and then I see this constantly happening. So I think I'm pretty confident and sure that this is gonna be the trend from now on, which is newer weapon will always power creeps the previous weapon in every single element, and also the whatever element that gets the new weapon is gonna be the best element at the moment. I mean, besides physical, physical is always like kind of so usually you will have votes, like right? Because in 1.0 we have Bayuekui that started the power creeping. Literally every other single element was trash. And then when Vera comes, you have Ruby, which instantaneously like power creep Bayuekui, and then you have Saki that power creeps Ruby, and then you have Lyra. Well, Lyra is not necessarily better than Ice. It's like similar performance, but physical is like very tanky. So I think it makes sense to not have the best damage, but still it's much better than Fire, right? And then the next comes Tianlang, which overthrow every single other element, and then after that it's what? It's Annabella that it just keep happening, and here we are at with Lan out, like Fire Team is finally gets a better support or so, and then it works very well with both Ruby and Annabella. I'm not sure exactly if it necessarily power creates vote team, but the idea here is I'm I had enough with this. I think it's a malicious cycle, and like I said, it's very hard for me to keep up with all these kind of things. Is unless I spend as much as someone like Gato, who like if you have the resource and money to like max out every single element or weapon, you don't give a shit about it, right? But that's not the case for me. And like I said, they are increasing the seeding also, so it's just gonna get harder and harder for me to max out a weapon. And many times, I'll just let you know that at this point of the game, if I don't save, then I simply don't have enough resource to max out the weapon and the matrix every time I get it, because they just eats so much, these materials, and it's just like not comfortable for me to do that. So the third point is more of a RL thing. I don't want to talk too much about it, but just in case you don't know, I don't make any money out of YouTube. My YouTube has zero monetization, and this is due to immigration law in the US because I'm not a permanent resident or a citizen. I'm on student visa, so I can't really make money out of the stuff that is not related to my, study, which is engineering. And I support all these expenses like gacha funding because I have a decent job. I do YouTube for fun, but they're not, I didn't really expect to grow this much. But I guess, anyway, the thing is, my family is going through some tough situations, and I realize that I should try to cut my spending a bit. It's not like I'm giving up, my hobby. I don't think that's the right way to do. You should still enjoy your life, but still, you should try to cut it down, if you can, right? And especially, I'm also playing and willing in Genshin. And to be brutally honest, while I do love TOF very much, if I had to pick one, I will still choose Genshin. It might seem hard to believe because most of my views and content are from TOF, but that's only because not many people watch my Genshin runs, and Genshin has enough content creator already. But that being said, it's not like I'm saying I'm not gonna make more TOF videos. Just like I explained a while ago, I think it is more realistic for me to focus more on one or two elements rather than four. And I'm still deciding which element or elements to choose. I currently lean toward more to physical team. Let me know what you guys think, cause yeah, I do want to hear what you guys think about it. And as for Lan, since I did not pull her, I cannot do a in-depth explanation like I used to do. But through some researching on Bilibili, I can at least tell you that she will be a good support for both Annabella and Ruby. Now, I explain how Ruby and Annabella works, and especially you guys already have Ruby released on global. I mean, you can go watch my previous videos if you want to know more about Annabella, but to put it short, main DPS Annabella uses gas bomb module and does not rely on burning. Ruby, on the other hand, focuses on burning. And Lan sort of buff them both, because she buffs the normal attack and dodge attack, which Annabella abuses, but she also can get the target burning, so she can also support Ruby. And now usually you had to pick either Annabella or Ruby and decided to wrong one of them with Lan, right? But like I said, ideally Annabella, because she is a newer unit, Annabella plus Lan will be stronger than Ruby plus Lan, given you have similar investment. And this is exactly what I mentioned before. Like newer weapon is pretty much always better than the older one. And the good thing with Annabella plus Lan is that they do not heavily rely on Lin, since Lin support the fire team in the form of burning. So you can draft a team like Annabella plus Land and Claudia or Tsubasa, right? Or simply do triple fire calm. It's totally fine. Where in the case of Ruby, Lin is kind of more needed. And yeah, I like Lan a lot. She has very fun playstyle, and she is gorgeous. She is beautiful. But like I said, I do have to skip her at this point. But anyway, I think that's all what I have to say. Since I'm probably making less explanation videos, I think I might instead do more actual combat videos and runs. So let me know if there's anything particular I can put out. And thanks, everyone. Have a nice Christmas.